Hey, Rumble World Entertainment, and we got updates for Alien 5 and Alien Earth Season 2. Now, the Alien 5 one, there's not a hell of a lot of information, but it's what Sigourney Weaver has said, and the Alien Earth Season 2, it's more in line with what we won't get in that season because of something that's just being set up in the universe. You've probably already guessed it. Yeah, it's Predators. So let's start with the Alien 5 news. So it's saying here, over the past few months, we've been getting more information about the state of Walter Hill's Alien 5, with the latest update being about a month ago in November at the Cinematheque, whatever the hell it's called, in Paris, France, which of course was when Sigourney Weaver was asked what was happening. That was also when she said why it didn't happen, which she very quickly said, yeah, it's because of Ridley Scott that it didn't happen. So all of the updates over these past few months have been coming from Sigourney Weaver, so it wasn't surprising that for an early screening of the upcoming Avatar Fire and Ash, in which she stars in, that when asked by Variety about if she was looking forward to returning to Alien, Weaver clarified on the state of the project. So this was her answer to this. You know, we're just taking it one step at a time. It is very interesting. I hope we do it because I think it will be wonderful. I think the fans will enjoy it. But it's very early days. So that's interesting because that's the first time we really heard her say she hopes to do it. She's talked about it's interesting, but you know, where would Ripley be in this world? So that's the first time, I'm pretty sure anyway, that's the first time we've heard her actually say, hey look, I hope we actually get to do this one. So if she's now starting to get on board with like, yeah, I want to do it, I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting announcements of they're going to start putting it into the works. It's interesting as well, like there must be something there if Walter Hill is still actually working on it. I don't think it would be the case of, well, we're just going to let him work on it, but we're not actually going to ever look at it or anything like that. Disney must have actually said so, not in the sense of, look, we're officially greenlighting this thing, work on it. They might be saying to him, get as much as you can done, bring it to us, and we'll see where we go from there. So there must be something more to this than just kind of he's toying around with an idea, because it makes no sense that he would be sitting there working on a script if nothing is going to come of it. But then the Alien Earth news is that Noah Hawley says there won't be any Predators showing up in Alien Earth. Now, of course, this is going on the heels of Predator Badlands, that obviously it was the first connection in the Disney era of Alien and Predator that the two franchises have started to show up together, i.e. the Weyland-Yutani stuff in Predator Badlands. And we heard that Dan Trachtenberg had reached out to Noah Hawley. Don't know whether Noah Hawley responded to Dan Trachtenberg or not, because we know Fede Alvarez reached out to him to make sure that they weren't going to, treading each other's toes and to see like where exactly in the universe they were. And Hawley ignored Alvarez. So this is what this part's saying. So with the Alien and Predator franchise both in resurgence, and teases coming from 20th Century Studio head Stephen Abel that another AVP is probably happening, you might be wondering if we could be seeing a Yautja appear in the world of Alien Earth, which was recently renewed for another season. God help us with that one as well. Well, wonder no longer, as showrunner Noah Hawley has answered. And he said, no, not onto the show, I don't think so. Hawley continued on the Smartless podcast that while he enjoys what Trachtenberg is doing with the franchise, there has been no planning of any integration of Predator and the world of Alien Earth. So this is what he said on that thing. I think Dan Trachtenberg, who made Prey and has made the Badlands movie, I loved Prey. I think he's doing a great job with that franchise. He clearly has a plan there. I've met Dan once. We're not kind of coordinating any of that stuff, so it's not really my plan to do it. That answer is interesting because that would indicate that he pretty much ignored Trachtenberg as well while doing Alien Earth. Because if he's saying we're not really coordinating any stuff, that would indicate that he hasn't spoken to him. Because that was one of the things. All of these guys wanted to make sure where and what is happening with Alien Earth. Like, what time period are you in? Are you having something connected to this type of universe going to appear in your show? Clearly, he's ignoring everyone, which I don't understand why. So, Badlands director Dan Trachtenberg had previously said while talking with Heroes Reforged podcast that Noah Hawley had reached out to him after noticing Weyland-Yutani's presence in the film's trailer and told him, "You're doing stuff with Weyland-Yutani, we should be talking." Now that's interesting to hear that as well, that Hawley reached out after the trailer. We know that Dan Trachtenberg, because he has said so, that he reached out before filming began on Badlands. That he reached out to Dan Trachtenberg, Noah Hawley, to see what kind of stuff he's using in terms of synthetics and stuff like that. Because none of them knew what time period Alien Earth was going to be in. So clearly, Noah Hawley was ignoring both directors from each side, Fede Alvarez and Dan Trachtenberg. But Dan Trachtenberg is the only one he actually reached out to after seeing the trailer, and it was basically, by the sounds of it, it was to say, why the hell are you using Weyland-Yutani? Which is interesting, seeing as but Hawley is barely using Weyland-Yutani. He's focusing on the Prodigy Corporation. But Noah Hawley is muddying the water with what he's putting into this thing and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think he should have sat down. And more so, I think Disney should have made all three of them sit down with each other and say what their plans and visions were. So Fede Alvarez, who was working first, he was the first one brought in with Alien Romulus. He should have been sat down and said, right, what's your plans? Where are you going? Then, of course, they should have been having Hawley and Trachtenberg sitting there and saying, like, what are your plans? What way are you doing it? And Trachtenberg only needed to be brought in with Badlands because he was going to use Weyland-Yutani stuff. Because other than that, he didn't need to be brought in. Because there was no hint or mention or anything or any indication that they were going to go in the direction of alien stuff showing up in any of his Predator stuff, both Prey and Killer of Killers. So Badlands was the only one that they would have needed to bring him in and say, like, okay, what's your time setting? What's your plans? What are you looking to use? The fact that that didn't happen, that's stupid. To be honest, that is stupid. I think they should have all sat down together and said, no, Hawley should have been saying, well, ours is set 2 years before the first Alien movie, which he didn't even know that because he was saying, I think we're in between Alien and Aliens. And then it was the fans who saw the date and went, no, you're 2 years before Alien. Alvarez knew his was always going to be between Alien and Aliens. So he very much wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be introducing stuff or treading on what Hawley was doing. And again, Trachtenberg only really needed to be brought in when it was the idea of, hey, he wants to use Weyland-Yutani stuff. What kind of stuff have you guys all set up that he can either use or avoid using? And that didn't happen. So it's going to be messy. You know, we have Alien Romulus. We've seen and know what stuff is in there. We have Alien Earth now and seeing stuff that isn't anywhere else in the franchise, including Alien Romulus or even Predator Badlands. So it's like, well, where does all that stuff go? It's interesting, but what is going to happen now is he's obviously going to have to try and get rid of some of the stuff that was introduced in Alien Earth, such as the hybrids and these other corporations, because otherwise you're asking the question, well, where are any of these other corporations in the universe when we're watching Alien or Aliens or even Alien Resurrection or AVPs or any of this stuff? Where is it? It's non-existent. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, which it's probably going to be terrible, because let's face it, Alien Earth was terrible. But it's going to be interesting to see as well, with what's happening with all of these, where does an Alien 5 fit into it all? With Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. How do they work that? Do they pretty much unconnected from all of this stuff? Do they try and connect it to any of this stuff? That'll be interesting to find out as well. But what do you guys think? Would you like to see the Alien 5 with obviously Ripley coming back? And do you think they should have all sat down while working on all these different projects, Alien Earth, Alien Romulus, Predator Badlands, and actually hashed out what their plans were? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, hit the hype button and let YouTube know the videos are worth checking out. All that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.